Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS. Welcome to another session of the Hindu News Analysis dated 23rd November 2025. This is Shyam Kaggod here taking up today's discussion. Now, before I start the discussion, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Please give the confirmation. Am I audible and visible for all of you? Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start the discussion. So, today I've taken a total of 8 articles from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. I'll be covering the articles from different subjects: Indian economy, polity, science and technology, international relations, etc. The discussion will be comprehensive so that it will help you in answering the questions not only in the prelims examination but also in the mains examination. If you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Now, let's start. Before I take up the first article, I have two very important announcements. Today, Unacademy is conducting Mega UCSC. There are two slots. You can choose any one of them. There is one slot 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. Second one is at 5 p.m. Choose any one of the two slots, register for the test, evaluate yourself before the UPSC will evaluate what is the level of your preparation. And if you score very good number of marks, you also stand a chance to win rewards. And second very important announcement is regarding the labor codes. I'm pretty sure all of you remember this. In yesterday's newspaper, all the national dailies, one common news that has been covered is labor codes. And even today, in the Hindu newspaper, couple of articles have been provided associated with the labor codes itself. I'm not going to cover these articles separately in today's discussion for a simple reason. As I announced it yesterday, a video of around 42 minutes has already been uploaded on the YouTube channel. If you're yet to watch it, please do watch it. Questions can be asked in the UPSC as to how labor codes will help in women empowerment or participation of women, how the labor codes will help in contractual workforce in India, how the labor codes will help in industrialization, how the labor codes will promote ease of doing business, etc. I've covered the different aspects of this particular debate. Go through the video, and if you want to download the PPT, it is there in the Telegram channel. Please download it. Now let's start with the first article, trade deficit for the month of October. Trade deficit for the month of October. The article headline is why the trade deficit in the month of October has widened. Now, please, before I start the discussion, please understand this. Lot of data has been provided in the article. That is, how much is the trade deficit? How much imports have happened in India? How much exports have happened from India, etc. Should you remember the data? Absolutely no. But the concepts which are discussed in the article are pretty much relevant. The concepts are important. Focus on the concepts. Let me explain all the concepts mentioned in the article. Point number one, whenever you talk about balance of payments, BOP, all of you heard of this? Balance of payments. The balance of payments has a record of all the transactions that will be conducted between one country with the rest of the world. Within the balance of payment, there is one account called as current account. And within the current account, we basically record the transactions associated with the trade. Is the point clear? There is BOP. Under BOP, there is an account, current account. And under the current account, we record the transactions associated with the trade. Now, the trade, wherever I say, can be conducted in the form of merchandise. What is the basic idea for merchandise? In simple terms, goods. And it can also be conducted in the form of services. In the form of services. That is, the goods can be imported, exported. The services can be imported and exported. Now, in the context of India, what is the situation? Please remember this carefully. In the context of India, generally, India has a trade deficit in the merchandise. It has a merchandise trade deficit, simply meaning the value of imports of merchandise which is done, it is greater than the value of exports. Is this point very clear to you? We import more value of these particular merchandise compared to how much we export. In fact, if you take the top 10 trading partners, the top 10 countries with whom we have trade, out of these particular 10 countries, there are 9 countries with whom we have merchandise trade deficit. Or with these 9 countries, we have a trade deficit. It is only with the USA that India has a trade surplus. Trade surplus essentially means you are exporting more value of the goods and services compared to the imports that you are doing. Now, this is the context of merchandise. What about the services? In case of services, India has been experiencing a trade surplus. India has been experiencing a trade surplus. That is, the value of exports is greater than the value of imports. But the overall, that is when you take the merchandise as well as the services, India has a trade deficit. Now, this is point number one. Point number two, what has actually happened in the month of October? Why the trade deficit has actually widened? The value of the trade deficit is given here. Have a look at the data. Please do not memorize the data, just understand. India's trade deficit for the month of October has surged to $21.8 billion. $21.8 billion. In the month of October 2024, it was somewhere around $9 billion. And for October 2025, it has suddenly increased, ballooned by more than 140% to reach $21 billion. What are the reasons behind it? Is it a cause of concern? Is the picture very clear, or there is a mixed picture that you need to understand? Let's decipher all the important points. Now, let's discuss both imports as well as exports. Imports as well as exports. Because obviously, when you talk about the trade deficit, essentially you're covering both imports value as well as export value. What has happened in the context of imports? In the month of October, the imports have suddenly ballooned. Balloon means increased. The value of imports have increased. And specifically, the increase in the imports is attributed to two commodities, one gold and the second one silver. Is it okay? One gold and the second one silver. Why the imports of gold and silver have increased, and is it a cause of concern? Partly yes, partly no. Why? Listen to this carefully. In the month of October, there are multiple festivals. And when there are festivals, I'm pretty sure all of you have seen this, participated in this exercise, etc. The households in India will go on a spree to purchase precious metals. Correct? Indian households will start purchasing lot of precious metals, that is basically gold and silver. In the month of October, multiple festivals have come, and as a result of it, the demand for the gold and silver, both of them, and this despite the prices of both of the metals or both of the commodities reaching very high levels. Despite reaching very high levels, the imports of both of them have increased. Now, this is because of the festivals. Will it be continued in the month of November as well as December? Experts basically say this demand for the festivals is over in month of October. It will not be carried forward in the month of November as well as December. There is a sudden spike because of the festival, and this demand will not continue to exist in the month of November as well as December. This is a comforting factor because of which the imports are expected to go down. But at the same point of time, there is one more concerning factor. There is one more concern. What is the concern here? In recent times, the investors have changed the way they are investing. Investors are changing how they are investing in the Indian market. Traditionally, if you have seen, investors in India, especially retail investors, traditionally used to invest in fixed deposits, post office savings accounts, etc. But in recent times, the investments have shifted to equity market. A lot of investors, retail investors, are investing in mutual funds, SIPs, etc. And the Reserve Bank of India's governor has made a starking comment on this. The RBI governor simply says the banks will have to understand the fact that this is not a temporary shift. It is not a temporary change. It is a structural shift which will impose a pressure on deposit mobilization in the banking sector. And I'll just give you one more current affairs point. very recently, the credit to deposit ratio in case of India scheduled commercial banks has actually, or commercial banks has actually crossed more than 80%. More than 80% simply means there is a lot of pressure on the deposit mobilization in the banking sector now. Anyways, come back to this. The investors have shifted the pattern of investment. Now, a lot of these institutional investors, rather than investing in even in the stock market, even in the equity market, they have started investing in instruments associated with commodities. For example, ETF. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of this. ETF, exchange traded funds. In fact, during this particular festival time period, in the month of October, lot of the investors started purchasing the gold ETFs, silver ETFs. The demand went up to such an extent that some of the fund houses had to stop issuing these particular ETFs in the market. So one, the festival is not going to continue in the month of November and December, so demand would be restricted. But at the same point of time, the change in the pattern of investment might continue to exert, right, let's say, pressure on the imports. Imports might continue to increase. And when the imports will keep on increasing, automatically the trade deficit will keep on widening. Is everybody okay associated with the imports? Everybody is able to understand the argument. Now come to exports. Please do let me know in the comment section. Come to exports. Now the trade deficit can also widen if on one side the imports value will increase and on the other side exports value will decrease. I'll repeat the statement. If imports value increases and export value decreases, this will essentially lead to widening of the trade deficit. And this is actually happening in India right now. It is actually happening. What is the reason? One of the reasons which has been cited as to why the exports are suffering, the value of exports are taking a hit, is because of the protectionist policy implemented by the USA administration. The administration of USA. The current government in USA has announced 50% tariff on India's exports, not targeting service exports, but mainly targeting merchandise exports. Now, because the tariffs have been announced on these particular exports going from India to USA, the value of exports from India have taken a hit. They have been affected. But having said so, listen to the next point as well carefully. Having said so, there is, right, a very good parameter that has been mentioned in the article as well. That is in favor of India's export practices. The exports have taken a hit, but at the same point of time, India's exporters are diversifying their exports to other markets as well. They are diversifying their exports to other markets. That is the first one. Good observation or good thing for India's exports. Second one is within the USA market itself, rather than exporting to few of the companies or few of the importers, now we are finding out new companies in USA and we are able to export to other new buyers in the USA. That is also a good outcome. We require that. And the third one, in many of these particular cases, despite having 50% tariff, India's exports have continued to go to USA because India's exporters have reduced the prices. Simple. India's exporters have reduced the prices. And when you as an exporter will reduce the price, even though the tax is imposed, the overall market price of the product will not be increasing by such a large number. You can continue to export to the USA market. But having said so, the argument is very simple here. 50% tariff is not sustainable. 50% tariff is not sustainable. The government of India is negotiating trade agreement, bilateral trade agreement with USA. At least the first round should be announced as soon as possible. And more importantly, once this particular first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement is announced, there should be a provision addressing the tariff issue. Reason being, please understand, the main contention of USA was that India is buying crude from Russia. And because India is buying crude from Russia, we will target India and impose secondary sanctions on India. In addition to 25% tariff, we will impose additional 25% tariff as a penalty. as a penalty for buying the crude oil. Now look at the recent data. India has reduced the amount of crude oil that we are buying from Russia, which means we are basically adhering to the conditions that, or let's say the problem that USA had, we are addressing that particular problem. So government of India as soon as possible should negotiate, and in the first tranche itself, certain flexibility or certain relaxation should be provided in terms of the tariffs of 50%. But please understand, if these are not reduced, the tariffs are not reduced, what could be the likely impact? Already it has been seen that some of the exports which are labor intensive, please remember the term, some of the exports which are labor intensive. What do you mean by labor intensive? In these industries or units, you hire more and more labor units, or more and more human labor is used. For example, textiles. Textiles is the best example. Leather is the best example for, right, let's say the labor intensive industries. In recent times, the exports, like I said, have been affected. But majority or large chunk of these exports are from labor intensive industries. And when labor intensive industries exports are hit, revenues of the companies would be hit. The company might find it unsustainable to continue operations. And this could actually lead to number of people being removed from their employment. Right? So these are some of the things that have been discussed in the article here. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Please do let me know, and please go through these particular points. India's total exports in October 2025 have shrank by 0.7%, right? And this is because of reduction in the merchandise exports, right? April-October 2025 period, total exports have grown by 4.8%. India's merchandise exports to USA have shrank by, look at the data, 20.4%. 20.4%. Right? So these are certain important points. Again, I'm saying just go through this. Do not memorize. Please do not memorize these particular points, because this is only applicable for, right, let's say month of October. By the time you write the exam next year, the data would be changed. Okay. Now associated with this, let's solve an MCQ. One MCQ, and I'll give you one assignment under descriptive answer writing. Consider the following statements. Very easy statements, by the way. Depreciation of Indian rupee is likely to make imports cheaper. How many of you think this particular statement is true or correct? Do let me know very quickly. Higher trade deficit will increase the forex reserves held by Reserve Bank of India. Right? Which of the two statements are right? Both the statements, only one of them? Right? Please do let me know. How many of the statements are correct? Yogesh D. Anushka Singh D. What about others? Quickly. Don't take so much of time. Okay. Depreciation of Indian rupee is likely to make imports cheaper. Very simple. Somebody says A. Right. Saujanya, my dear, please have a look at this. Depreciation of Indian rupee is likely to make imports cheaper. No. Imports become costlier whenever there is a depreciation of Indian rupee. In fact, you must have heard of the inflation that will be caused because of, right, let's say imports becoming costlier, imported inflation, right? So first statement incorrect. Second one, higher trade deficit will increase the forex reserves held by RBI. No, this is also incorrect. Reason being, if there is a very high trade deficit, RBI will be forced to come into the market, participate in the market, in the sense try to stabilize the exchange rate. Try to stabilize the exchange rate, right? So by stabilizing, RBI will basically be selling the dollars, withdrawing the rupees. Forex reserves of Reserve Bank of India will go down rather than increasing. So both the statements are incorrect. Right option for the question is option D, none of the above. Now, I've also given you a practice question here. Please take up this practice question and answer, right? Let's say, answer the question within 250 words. Read the question. The protectionist policies of the major economies have had an impact on India's exports. Elaborate and also suggest a way forward. Suggest way forward. Okay, so these are, right, this is the question. Please practice the answer writing. For example, what will you write in this? You can quote the example. I told you this. Whenever you write answers in the economy paper, try to use certain current affairs in the introduction. You can simply quote, according to the most recent data for the month of October, the trade deficit in India has reached a historic high. And then basically start what are the reasons why the trade deficit has widened, etc., etc. Done? Okay. And there is also a part of the question which says recommend way forward. Please think of that as well. Recommend way forward. Okay, let's go forward. Next, are e-KYC norms excluding MGNREGA workers? Are e-KYC norms excluding MGNREGA workers? What is the discussion happening? Very recently, there is an article which was published in the Hindu newspaper itself, which stated the number of workers who have been removed under MGNREGA from the coverage under MGNREGA has suddenly increased. According to the data, right, this is the data that you need to remember for the month of October and November, starting from, right, let's say second week of October till the first half of the November, 10.5 lakh MGNREGA workers were added, right? The beneficiaries were added under the MGNREGA list. But for the same time period, more than 27 lakh MGNREGA workers were deleted from the list. Correct? Were deleted from the list. And in fact, this particular deletion is almost twice the number of deletions that have taken place in the last 6 months. Almost twice the number of deletions that have taken place in the last 6 months. So there was a concern raised against this particular practice or increased deletions under MGNREGA. Now, what are the reasons behind it? All the explanation has been provided. Let's understand point by point. The government of India has implemented an initiative called as MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, under which the scheme has been implemented, wherein the adults in the household from the rural part of India are given 100 days of wage labor. Now listen to me very carefully. Under this particular act, there are two very important provisions you need to remember now. The para 2 of schedule 2, please remember this particular point, can be asked in the prelims. Para 2 of schedule 2 of the act states that it shall be the duty of Grama Panchayat to issue the job cards. It shall be the duty of Grama Panchayat to issue job cards. And the job cards will have certain information, can be questioned in the prelims. What kind of information? There will be unique job card number, the details of the registered number, insurance policy number, as well as Aadhaar number. These are the kind of details which will be provided, right, in the context of job card. Okay. Now, next important point. The para 3 of schedule 2, the job cards are renewed after 5 years. Remember this. The job cards are renewed after 5 years. Now, these are the two important points. Now, let's connect both of them, right, to the discussion given in the article. And the students who are talking, Saujanya, my dear, I'll address your doubt at the end of the session. Have patience, focus on the discussion. The government of India simply states the process of deletion of the MGNREGA jobs or MGNREGA beneficiaries is not new. It's not a new exercise. There is nothing to be worried. We are basically following the standard operating procedure, and according to that, we are basically conducting the deletions of the MGNREGA beneficiaries. And what is the process that the government of India has prescribed? Listen to me carefully. Under MGNREGA, there have been multiple instances where there has been misuse of the funds. Right? There are instances of duplication of beneficiaries, beneficiaries not reporting to job but still getting wages, and the misuse of the funds, diversion of the funds, etc., etc. To address these kind of issues and promote transparency in the whole process, promote efficiency in terms of implementation of the scheme, the government of India initially announced the concept of NMMS. Please remember the name of this, NMMS. What is this NMMS? It is basically National Mobile Monitoring System. Memorize this. National Mobile Monitoring System. Okay. Now, what is this National Mobile Monitoring System? this has been implemented by the government of India, and now attendance under MGNREGA shall be recorded using this particular app. Under this app, let's say a particular MGNREGA work is being done. There will be a person, supervisor, who is overseeing the work that is being conducted. They will have an app, NMMS, and they will basically open the app and take the photos of the work that is being done by basically ensuring that the photos will be taken, and this will be used to identify which beneficiary is working on the farm, and attendance will be taken. Is everybody okay? Attendance will be taken. For example, a lot of you, when you go to offices, it will be generally a biometric attendance. It will be through an app, etc. In the same way, the mobile phone app will be used. The supervisor will take the phone, and there is also concept of a geo-tagging where the person is working on which place, etc. Now the attendance will be registered. This particular policy has been implemented by the government. In addition to this, the government also has implemented Aadhaar-based payment system, ABPS, Aadhaar-based payment system. What happens under Aadhaar-based payment system? Simple. Have a look at this. Under Aadhaar-based payment system, a beneficiary under MGNREGA will have the Aadhaar number. Correct? Will have the Aadhaar number. And this Aadhaar number will be taken as the financial address by the government. This Aadhaar number will be connected to NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India, will be connected to the job card of the beneficiary, will be connected even to the bank account of the beneficiary. Now this particular Aadhaar number, once you authenticate, this Aadhaar number will ensure that, or will basically be a proof that you have worked on this particular day. The wages of that day now will be transferred online into your bank account. This is Aadhaar based payment system which has been implemented by the government. Now, despite implementing the mobile application system to register attendance, despite implementing ABPS, even today there are certain concerns. What are the concerns? The government of India basically states that in multiple cases, when the supervisor has to take the attendance, that is, take the photo of the beneficiary or the worker, rather than simply taking the clear photo, now they will simply take a photo of another photo. Right? Is everybody able to understand? I am supposed to be a beneficiary under MGNREGA. Right? You are the supervisor. You should hold the mobile phone, take the live photo of me. Take the live photo along with geotagging, which will be authenticated using the, let's say, Aadhaar system. But now, you and me are friends. I will give you my photo. It is there in the mobile. You will open the another mobile, and through your mobile, you will take the photo of a photo in the mobile. So the government of India says a lot of times unnecessary photos are getting uploaded. The photo of photo is getting uploaded. And a lot of times there could be a physical mismatch, as a result of which there will be issuance in terms of having attendance. And please understand this. The government of India, in order to address this, has introduced under the NMMS app itself, that is in the mobile app, they've introduced the concept of e-KYC. That is, under the e-KYC, once you take the photo now, this will basically verify your photo with the photo that is present in your Aadhaar credentials. Simple. Your photo now will be compared with the photo that you have given in the Aadhaar. And through that, basically the e-KYC will be conducted. The e-KYC is conducted in order to root out fake beneficiaries, etc. So through this particular system, the government of India is ensuring that the right beneficiaries are working, there is no leakage in the system, etc. But have a look at this. Certain experts have raised a problem or a concern associated with this model as well. They basically say, in case of rural part of India, I'm not talking about the cities, rural part of India. What if the internet connectivity is not correct? What if the internet connectivity is very patchy? That is, speed is not sufficient. Or internet connectivity itself is very weaker in that particular region. In that case, attendance cannot be uploaded. If the attendance cannot be uploaded, the work that is done cannot be uploaded, the wages will not be paid to the workers. That is a very big, significant problem here. Second issue is the trained workers. In some of the cases, again, I'm saying the government of India in the communique, or let's say the document which was released by the government, they have stated that the people who are supposed to take the attendance, conduct e-KYC, etc., they are trained. This is the statement given by the government. But many of the experts in the rural part of India say that when they look at the rural part of India, they say that the people or the supervisors who are supposed to conduct the e-KYC or basically take the attendance through the NMMS app, they are not trained sufficiently. They do not know how to operate. People do not know how to give their attendance, etc. So poorly trained worker is also another problem. Mismatch in the job card as well as Aadhaar. This is a very big issue, by the way. What is a mismatch I'm talking about? Let's say, and this is very common in rural parts of India. Forget about rural parts of India. If you are honest, you yourself would have seen in your own household where there's a mismatch in the name that is given in the Aadhaar as well as name given in other official documents. Either the name and surname would be jumbled up like this, or there will be a spelling mistake. There will be some one or the other small changes in the name given in the Aadhaar as well as the name that is there in the job card. Now, if that is the case, in lot of cases, the amount that is supposed to be transferred into your bank account because of ABPS, the amount is supposed to go to directly the bank account. It may not be credited. Why? There is a mismatch. There is a mismatch. That is also one more concern. And finally, uploading of the right photos. Unnecessary photos getting uploaded. Wrong a photo of a photo being uploaded, etc. All these are some of the issues which have been flagged in the context of the government of India implementing reforms to make the system, that is MGNREGA system, much more efficient, much more transparent. In a nutshell, the government of India simply says no issues in terms of deletions through the e-KYC that is conducted under MGNREGA. There are absolutely no issues. The SOP is being followed, and as a result of which deletions are happening under MGNREGA. Done? Okay. Now, associated with this, I've given an MCQ. Let's solve it quickly. Consider the following statements related to MGNREGA. The job cards once issued cannot be deleted. Statement 1. The duty to issue the job cards lies with the Gram Panchayats. The attendance of the workers is recorded through NMMS. How many of the statements are true? The job cards once issued cannot be deleted. Oh, this is incorrect. Job cards can be deleted. Job cards can be deleted, by the way. Okay. The duty to issue the job cards lies with the Gram Panchayats. Yes, I've given you the section as well as the paragraph as well. UPSC may not ask you the paragraph, but they might ask you the section under the act. Please be aware, because this is there in the discussion for multiple reasons now. Memorize the section. The attendance of the workers is recorded through this app. Yes. 2 statements are true. Right option will be option B. Only 2 of the 3 statements are correct. Let me go forward now. G20 Summit, the government of India or Mr. Modi, who represented India here, has proposed 6 new initiatives. 6 new initiatives targeting basically the African countries. And there is one more discussion or one more concept that is being discussed: Australia, Canada, India Technology and Innovation Partnership. ACT partnership. What are the important points associated with both of them? Let's understand. But more importantly, please memorize this particular term now. Please memorize this particular term. That is integral humanism. Integral humanism. Please memorize this particular term. Can be asked in the UPSC preliminary examination. Integral humanism. What is the basic idea of integral humanism? Please understand, whenever you talk about promotion of growth and development in the economy, you either follow, let's say, capitalistic model, Western economies, or you follow socialistic model, For example, the former Soviet Union. The argument of integral humanism is that either one model will focus only on the private sector and another model will focus only on the state. What is missing is integrated approach towards promotion of humans as well. That is, you do not consider humans as a part of the whole system. You will either focus only on the private sector or you will focus only on the state. You are not focused on the humans. And that focus should be provided as a part of the whole system. And this approach is called as integral humanism. Is everybody able to understand? I've simplified the model, right? It is called as integrated humanism or integral humanism. The Prime Minister of India basically stated that in the African continent, why the discussion is on the African continent? Because listen to me carefully, G20 is being held in South Africa. It is held in South Africa. That's the reason the discussion is on African continent. In African continent, different countries have adopted different models of growth and development. But whenever it is a question of development indicators associated with humans, the countries in Africa will always fall behind. The humans, or let's say people residing in Africa, they have not been able to get the benefit of any kind of a growth and development model that is implemented across multiple countries in this continent. So what has Government of India proposed in the G20? Please have a look at this. The Government of India has proposed 6 new initiatives. 6 new initiatives. Please memorize all the 6 new initiatives. I'll tell you what are the important points associated with this. You don't have to write it down. After the session is over, the PPT will be uploaded. Please download and memorize these. 6 new initiatives that have been proposed by Government of India are: 1. Global Traditional Knowledge Repository. What is the traditional knowledge? For example, in case of India, back in the year 2020, the Government of India implemented India's knowledge system, IKS, Indian Knowledge System. In fact, that is also mentioned by the Prime Minister in the speech. Prime Minister stated that Indian knowledge system can be used as a model to implement Global Traditional Knowledge Repository. What is the basic idea for traditional knowledge? In the context of India, there are different types of traditional knowledges that we need to preserve. It could be associated with sciences, it could be associated with, let's say, textile, it could be associated with medicine, etc. So traditional knowledge is integral. If you want to grow in the 21st century, you need to protect it. You need to harness, you need to have a multidisciplinary approach where this will be integrated and promoted. And that is the precise reason the National Education Policy, NEP 2020, has a mention to promote traditional knowledge in India. And following that itself, the Government of India has implemented the Indian Knowledge System, IKS. Please remember that. It has been set up as a division under under AICTE. Under AICTE. Okay. So first, basically promote Global Traditional Knowledge Repository. Second one, Africa Skills Multiple Initiative. What is the idea? There should be a model that should be supported by the G20 group of countries where 1 million certified trainers, right? 1 million certified people should be trained in Africa. And these particular people will train other people in the continent. That's the second one. Third one, countering drug terror nexus. One of the ways to ensure there is a growth and development is to ensure that these kind of criminal activities, nefarious activities related to drug smuggling, drug peddling, etc., and terror funding, the nexus must be broken. That is one more initiative that has been announced. Fourth one, Global Healthcare Response Team. The G20 group of countries should have sufficient number of people who are trained in the healthcare who, upon the emergency in African countries, should be ready to be deployed. This labor force, skilled labor force in the healthcare sector, should be deployed in case of emergency in countries in Africa. Fifth one, satellite data partnership. You can use the satellite to collect a lot of information, and this information can be used to promote agriculture, can be used to promote, right, let's say, fisheries, to contain the disasters that are, or the impact of the disasters that are going to take place, etc. So the satellite data which has been collected by the space agencies within the G20, the sharing of that data should be conducted. And finally, the sixth point, associated with critical minerals. Very often you must have come across the fact that multiple countries in Africa are rich in critical minerals. They have huge amount of reserves of critical minerals. Now, in this particular case, it's not just production, mining of critical minerals. You should also focus on recycling of critical minerals as well. That is basically the sixth factor or the sixth initiative that has been proposed by the government of India for the African continent. Is everybody okay with these particular six proposals? Again, I'm saying memorize them. Please memorize them. Now, in the context of the other discussion, that is another concept, the Australia, Canada, India Technology and Innovation Partnership, right? ACT partnership. This also has been announced, and this is important for a simple reason. Have a look at this. On one side, India has a trade agreement with Australia. We want to harness that particular trade agreement. And it is also important to note that the relations between Canada and India, earlier had taken a hit. That is especially in the last 1.5 years when Mr. Justin Trudeau was the head of the government there, because of certain actions, certain statements that were given by the Prime Minister there, the relations between India and Canada had taken a hit. But now, with the new Prime Minister, right, extending multiple, extending invitations to the Prime Minister very recently and holding consultations with Indian government, right, etc., the relations are improving a lot. And this is another proof to show that, yes, the relations are becoming better and better as the time passes by. So this is also the reason why this kind of a trilateral grouping or trilateral partnership is important. But what is the importance of the partnership? It is essentially aimed at promoting cooperation amongst all the three countries, harnessing the areas where all the three countries have expertise, synergizing the participation of all the three countries in key areas such as emerging technologies, clean energy, and basically having resilient supply chain systems. So these are certain very important points associated with ACT. So these are the important concepts and the pointers associated with the G20 group of countries. Please remember them. Now, associated with this, I've given a question. Consider the following statements regarding Indian Knowledge System, IKS. It was launched in 2025. This particular statement is incorrect. It is set up under the AICT by Ministry of Culture. This particular statement is incorrect. It is not under the Ministry of Culture. Okay, right. So both the statements are incorrect. Right option for the question will be option D, none of the above. Can we go forward now? Do let me know. Can we go forward? Next article, right? Couple of more articles. COP30 Global, right? Mutirao. Global Mutirao. Pronunciation Mutirao. Global Mutirao. It's basically pronounced in a different way. Okay, Global Mutirao. What are the important points? And before I go forward, if you want to have a detailed discussion or have a look at the detailed discussion of the COP30, yesterday Mukesh sir has covered this in the current affairs video. Yesterday evening, there was a current affairs live session taken by Mukesh sir. If you want to have a detailed look at the provisions under COP30, what was discussed, etc., please have a look at it. Now, what are the important points? Right? Let me basically sum it up here. What are the important points in the COP30? Like we discussed it yesterday, Friday was supposed to be the last day. Okay, Friday was supposed to be the last day, but the negotiations or the discussions continued, right, on Saturday as well. Now, what are the important points associated with the COP30? First and foremost, please understand this. The two groups of countries, that is one group of country wanting certain, right, let's say roadmap for elimination of fossil fuel production and consumption, and the other group of countries, that is the petro countries and other developing countries who did not want any kind of a binding, right, let's say agreement on them. Finally, under the COP30, it has been agreed that there will be, I repeat, there will be no binding agreement under the COP30 declaration. In this particular declaration or in this particular the agreement, there is no mention of roadmap to eliminate or to basically move away from the fossil fuel. In fact, the president basically from Brazil, Andre Lago, has announced that he will be creating two roadmaps. One roadmap will be associated with halting and reversing deforestation, and the second one will be transitioning away from the fossil fuels in a just, orderly, and equitable manner. But what is important to note here? The important point to note here is that these are not part of the consensus agreement, which essentially means these, even if it is announced later separately, these will not be binding on the parties, that is a part of conference of parties. Right? So this is one very important point. Second important point is the consensus agreement is called, remember this, Global Mutirao, uniting humanity in a global mobilization against climate change. This is basically the name of the agreement. Please remember, this can be asked in the preliminary examination. In addition to this, some of the developed countries did not want any kind of a binding constraint on the financing, because there is always a debate under the COP. How much money should be provided by the developed countries to the developing countries in order to go for adaptation and mitigation. In that particular context, a 2-year framework has been announced where the discussions will continue to happen. So these are, right, essentially the outcomes of the COP30. Now, let me go forward. Major hurdle will be in reducing the 90,000 pending cases. The statement given by the to be appointed Chief Justice of India, Justice Surya Kant, right, tomorrow, that is on Monday, will be taking oath as 53rd Chief Justice of India. And in an informal meeting with the press, the justice has given certain important statements as to what plans he has created, or what are the plans in order to reduce the number of pending cases in India. Now, you must have come across this particular statement where crores of cases in India are stuck, right, have been pending for multiple years now at different levels of judiciary, starting from the lowest level of judiciary to essentially to the level of Supreme Court of India. Now, what are the plans which have been proposed by the let's say by the 53rd Chief Justice of India to be the Chief Justice of India? Listen to me very carefully. The first very important point that has been proposed by the Chief Justice is the Chief Justice of India will be identifying certain important cases, and these particular cases will have different connection to other cases as well. For example, let's say there is a legal matter, and this is one of the issues that is being considered in other courts as well. Amongst all the other legal cases, there is a connection with other cases, etc., or other legal subjects as well. Now, because there is no clarity, and this is because this particular legal subject is pending in the Supreme Court of India, all the other cases will also be held. There will be a delay in clearing all the other cases. So the justice is saying that new benches will be set up having 7 judges or 9 judges, and these important legal subjects which are pending for a longer duration with the Supreme Court, now these will be considered on priority. They will try to basically address these particular cases first, and as a result of that, there will be a clarity associated with this legal matter. And in other courts, be it in High Court, be it in the District Court, because there is clarity at the Supreme Court level, now other cases will also be cleared in a much faster way. This will reduce the number of pendency of cases. That's the first one. Second very important suggestion, or the plan that he has proposed right now, is essentially to essentially to ensure that certain cases where a lot of times people or the petitioners, instead of filing the cases at the High Court, they will directly go to Supreme Court and file the cases. They want to work on this as well. A lot of times it has been seen that the cases can be filed at the High Court level also, but they will directly go to the Supreme Court and file a petition in the Supreme Court itself. So they want to have a look at this particular aspect as well. And in addition to this, have a look at this. In addition to this, Justice Surya Kant is planning to promote more and more resolution of the cases through mediation. More and more resolution of the cases through mediation. What is the basic idea for mediation? Please remember this. Under mediation, in fact, the government of India has already passed an act associated with this, Mediation Act of 2023. Under mediation, rather than taking through the judiciary, there will be panel which will be set up. I'm sorry, there is a mediator who is appointed, and by basically having talks with both the parties, there is a consensus, there is an agreement which is arrived. And this particular mediation is much better because the cost that is involved, the time that is consumed, all of it is much more efficient compared to going through a judiciary. So Justice Suryakant has plans to basically promote more and more resolution of the cases through the mediation itself. So these are some of the plans which have been put forward in order to reduce the number of pending cases at the judiciary level. And so these are certain points. Please remember this. Next, article associated with internet and Cloudflare. Couple of days ago, I'm pretty sure, including me, right, you also have faced this particular problem. For some time, we were not able to open the pages, that is the web pages. You tried to open the web pages, the websites were not responding. The websites were not, basically opening, these were not responding. Why? There was a crash that was seen, right, which has happened at one of the service provider, that is Cloudflare. Right? What is the importance of this? Cloudflare, please understand, it provides multiple services to the website companies or different website requirements. For example, one of the very important functions that basically the company provides is protection or the security. It provides a protection or security. It is also basically known to be working, right? Please remember, as an infrastructure service provider. It is also working as basically the manager of traffic, manages traffic in the internet. What is the basic idea? What is the function that Cloudflare does? It is like essentially an intermediary between an internet user and the web, actual web. Is it okay? Right, I'll repeat it again. It is actually a middleman, intermediary between a user as well as the actual web server. Right, and what is the function in terms of security? What kind of security does it provide? Let's imagine there is a cyber attack on a particular website. Lot of information is dumped, lot of, let's say the inputs are provided into this particular server itself, and ultimately the server cannot handle this information, the server will crash, server will slow down, etc. Now, important role that the Cloudflare does is essentially because essentially it is in between the actual server of the company as well as the internet users. It will try to protect this particular the server from crashing, because the input data that is provided by the internet users do not directly go to the server. It will go to the Cloudflare first and then will be sent to the server. Right, so these are the different kinds of services which are provided by the Cloudflare: security, management, etc. In fact, this is also part of the system which is called as immune system of web, immune system of internet. Very recently, what has happened is there is a sudden surge of connectivity or internet data associated with some of the websites. And one of the files which is supposed to activate when sudden surge of information is there, that file has got activated. Too much of data has been dumped into that particular file, and this disrupted the other softwares as well. And that is the reason the Cloudflare was not available. The services were not available for some time, but these particular services now have been restored. These particular services have been restored. The key terms that you need to remember in the context of Cloudflare is that around 20% of all the websites use Cloudflare services. For example, ChatGPT, the betting service companies, etc. Or even for that matter, X. Around 20% of the web services use Cloudflare, and the Cloudflare also works as a reverse proxy. What is the meaning? Like I said, whenever you want to get access to the server, You do not get access to directly the server of the company. You get access to the Cloudflare. Cloudflare will contact with the actual server of the company and then relay the message to you. Right? That is basically the reverse proxy function here. So these are certain important points. Please remember this. Now, right, one more article, dark patterns. There has been a lot of discussion associated with the dark patterns in recent times. What is the article talking about? In fact, couple of days ago, that is day for yesterday itself, I told you about, let's say, around 20 plus service companies in India, e-commerce service providers in India, who have given an audit report, self-audit report to the government authority, that is CCPA, Central Consumer Protection Authority. But now, certain other aspects of the dark patterns have been discussed. There is a report which has been published where it says dark patterns is not just associated with the consumers or the buyers in the market. Dark patterns is very frequently used even by gig companies. The companies, platform companies, etc. What is the issue? What are the important points mentioned in the article? Please have a look at this. The article simply notes that there are different types of dark patterns which are used by the gig companies or online service providers in order to basically force the workers, gig workers. I repeat, gig workers, not the consumers, gig workers. For example, let's say I am one of the person who is working under Swiggy, right? Or for that matter, Zomato, a delivery partner. Suddenly there will be an order which will pop up in my mobile. And what if in the app it will show the timer? That is basically it will show the timer. You have only 10 seconds to accept the order. Right? That basically is a dark pattern. Because when it shows only 10 seconds are there for you to accept the order, you are forced because I'm a worker. I want to earn money. I want to deliver so that I will earn certain amount of wages today. So when it will pop up the timing like this, I'll be forced, right, to basically accept the order. That is false urgency. These are important points. Please remember why. The Central Consumer Protection Act, under its guidelines, has identified 13 dark patterns. It has identified 13 dark patterns. And the companies, the e-commerce companies, 26 of them have reported back, submitted the self-audited report and stated that we are not implementing or we do not have any of these dark patterns which basically are going to force the consumers to buy something. But these are the dark patterns which are used by these companies to basically force gig workers. So one is a false urgency. Second one is wage concealment. What do you mean by wage concealment? Let's say I will accept an order to deliver food. How much money will I be earning from this order? No information is provided. What if I accept it and later I want to cancel? I don't want to deliver this. It's very far away, etc. What will be the penalty imposed on me? Before accepting the order, that information is not given. So once I accept the order, there is no other option now. If I want to order it, lot of distance I'll have to cover. If I do not want to deliver the order, I will cancel. What if the penalties are very steep? That is basically wage concealment. Third one is excessive monitoring. Lot of these companies are forcing the employees, that is the delivery partners, to keep their mobile phones open, give them access to various parts of the mobile phones, etc. Excessive monitoring. And finally, unfair deactivations. I'm a delivery partner, I'm a Ola driver, etc. Suddenly my app will be deactivated. Suddenly. What is the reason? There is no clarity regarding this. When it will be activated again, how much will be the penalty on me? What is the cause of this deactivation? What should I do going forward? None of this information is actually provided by the companies here. So unfair deactivations. These are some of the dark patterns that the companies are basically using to force the gig workers to provide the services. Important point, please make a note of this. Okay. Now, next article, I think the last one for today, Russia-Ukraine peace plan. We have been discussing this for the last 2 days. Just one more update. What is Russia-Ukraine peace plan that is being discussed here? Like I've told you this yesterday as well as day for yesterday. USA has proposed a 28-point plan, right, to Ukraine. And USA has given a deadline of 27th November for Ukraine to accept it, or else after that, no support whatsoever will be provided by the government of USA. Now, imagine for a country which is so much dependent in terms of weapons, in terms of intelligence, in terms of financing, etc. Suddenly, you give a deadline. Sufficient time is not there, and 28 points, a lot of them will basically reduce, right? Let's say Ukraine, in terms of, let's say, their standing, in terms of their status, they will have to give up a size of their land. They will have to reduce, right, their army. They will not be allowed to become a member of NATO, etc. So now Ukraine is in a very difficult position. But at the same point of time, European countries are worried about this. The European countries, many of the members which met in the G20 group of, right, let's say countries, they have raised a concern associated with this particular plan. Their argument is, right, sufficient time should be given. You cannot make a plan, right, while negotiating with Russia and the other party, that is Ukraine, is not present during the negotiations, right, etc., etc. So that is essentially, right, the points which are being discussed here. The European members, or let's say the European countries, are also basically in a huddle now. They have started discussing amongst themselves as to what should be the counter proposal to the proposal that has been put forward by Mr. Donald Trump, that is the president of USA. So these are certain points which have been given in the article, just an update, right? Nothing new. We have been discussing this for the last 2 days. Okay, so these are the articles as well as the concepts that I wanted to discuss in today's session. If you have liked this particular session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. And before I close the session, those who have doubts, please do let me know. I'll address your doubts. Yogesh, how Swiggy timer is a dark pattern? My dear, if you are given only 10 seconds to accept it, right? Don't you think you a lot of times, without knowing how much you are going to earn, without knowing where you are going to deliver, without knowing whether there's a penalty if you, right, cancel the order, etc., is it not forcing the gig worker to accept? Right? Because I hope you understand, lot of times these companies impose a number of deliveries in order for you to earn wages that day. You will have to deliver so many numbers, right? Or so many numbers of deliveries. Otherwise, wages will not be paid a lot of times. That is the reason it's a dark pattern. Any other question? Okay, my dear, Saujanya, the question was earlier, rupee depreciation, how it will have an impact on imports. Imagine today you are importing $1 worth of good. The price of this particular good is just $1 and the exchange rate is 80 rupees, which means you are paying 80 rupees, right? Because you need $1, you will pay 80 rupees, get the dollar and pay the dollar and import the product. Now, if rupee depreciates to $1 is equal to 85, in fact, today it is 88 and 89, but anyways, 85, rupee has depreciated, which means now to get the same dollar, you will have to pay 85 rupees. You'll have to pay 85 rupees, right? Don't you think for the same dollar, when you pay 85, you're paying higher number of rupees for the imports. Imports will become costlier. Imports will become costlier upon rupee depreciation and exports will become more competitive with rupee depreciation. Done. Okay, right. So these are certain important points I wanted to discuss. That's it from my side in today's particular session. Take care. See you next time. Do not miss out at attempting the UCSC. If not at 11 a.m., please attempt it at 5 p.m. slot. That's it from my side. Take care. See you next time.